Hey, arty friend. So today, Sunday, February 10th, is 7-inch Kara's second year launch anniversary. 2 years ago, I began sharing 7-inch Kara, my beautiful watercolor comic, online, and I wanted to celebrate with you guys. On Friday, we held a really special Power Hour art stream where we not only celebrated 7-inch Kara, but we also celebrated my fiance Joseph's birthday. So I also created a special alcohol marker piece to share with you guys, and I thought I'd do a little bit of a walkthrough. So I sketched this piece with Color Eno pink lead, and I am coloring it with alcohol markers in my Blick Studio sketchbook. You can actually see the sketch that I did later on underneath, but I promise in the original you cannot see it. So the first thing I'm doing is I am kind of creating an environment around Kara and around her pet mouse using a darker purple or blue violet, and then I am blending it out a little bit with the colorless blender marker. Now, I thought it would be really cute, since this is the second year launch anniversary, to draw Kara as a toddler chasing the pet mouse her parents kept when she was a little kid. And those of you who are familiar with my art are probably going to recognize that I am aiming for sort of the lineless art style that I've shown on this channel quite a few times. So I am using a B000 to add some shadow to her eyes, and I do it just right on top of the pink lead. And then I begin coloring her skin, and I'm using a combination of Blick Studio brush markers and Copic markers for this piece. And I think of this as like my blown out technique, because I use a lot of colorless blender to push the color, and I also try to limit the number of colors I use for shading. Now I'm using a shell pink just to add some blush to her cheeks, to her lips, to her eyelids, to her knuckles, to the palms of her hand. I also use it to add a little bit of pink to the interior of her ear. And now I'm using what looks like eggshell white or milky white to do another layer of skin. And if you are looking for a very thorough walkthrough alcohol marker tutorial where I explain all the colors that I use, I have several other videos like that here on this channel. So if you guys haven't read 7-inch Kara, you can go read it for free at 7inchkara.com or 7inchkara.tumblr.com, or you can purchase the first volume from me through either the Netto shop or by contacting me via email, and those are $15. The first volume covers the first 4 chapters of 7-inch Kara. I am currently finishing up painting chapter 8. Whoop whoop. And it also includes a bonus story and a concept art section. I am currently working on finishing up volume 2, and I hope to have a Kickstarter to announce soon as chapter 8 is painted and as soon as I have my bonus chapter inked. So I hope you guys will look forward to that event and help me celebrate it. So now I'm adding the darker shadows using probably suntan. And I'm adding freckles, I'm coloring in her irises, the first layer of her irises using probably a burnt orange or a color similar to that. A very orange brown. And I like using that because it adds a lot, instead of like a very light brown, because those tend to be kind of desaturated, because it adds like a pop of color and saturation to her hair and to her eyes. And I designed this outfit to be both very toddler appropriate and to also be very Lilliputian appropriate. So she has seed beads for buttons and rickrack trim on her dress. I also went ahead and used a little bit of B000 to color in the whites on the mouse's eye. Now I'm adding another darker layer to her hair, and I apologize that my head got in the shot. I'm trying a new filming method and I'm still kind of learning the ropes of it, but I'm sure I'll improve soon. And I'm leaving a little bit of my white layer and my burnt orange layer. That way we're building up a highlight. And then I'm pushing some of those colors back a bit with the color I used previously, that orangey brown color. Now I am adding the very darkest shadows to Kara's hair, and I am using a very dark brown for this, and I'm trying to do it really sparingly. And I'm adding just a little bit of blue violet as a shadow. And retrospectively, I wish I hadn't done that for this piece. Usually with these simple sketchbook doodles, I don't do that. And I don't know why I decided to do it this time. Now her outfit is going to be blue, white, and pink. And I went ahead and swatched all of my colors before this video started. I went ahead and I started the pink in the thread that's holding her hair back. It's kind of the most saturated pink. And now I'm filling in with the blue. And the way I usually like to work with this sort of marker technique is larger areas or areas that I'm going to blend out a lot. I do those first because they have a tendency to bleed into other areas. And this allows me to kind of make corrections and fix that. Rather than, you know, filling in all the little pink areas and then having the blue stray into that and having to fix those and maybe not succeeding in fixing those. So this is a little bit tricky because for this, I can't really turn the paper a whole lot. When I time lapse it, I know that might make you guys sick. So I try to keep the paper stationary, which means I'm moving my body and my wrist around, trying to get the best angle to color things in. So if you're doing this at home, I really recommend you move your paper around to suit your needs so that you can do the best job. Don't try to keep it static. That's not normal. And I'm pointing this out so that you guys know it's not normal. Now that I have kind of a base layer on her dress filled in, I'm going over it again. And with this technique, you're working a lot with wet into wet. So you're working into areas that are still damp. Alcohol markers evaporate very quickly. And when they do evaporate, you can get a nice, strong transition. But if you work wet into wet, you can get really nice, clean blends. So this is a technique all about taking advantage of your paper. And this is why I like working with thirstier papers. They do tend to drain your markers very quickly, but you can get some really beautiful, soft, subtle blends if you want. Now I'm using my pinks to color, well, first I did another layer on the little ribbon in her hair, the little thread in her hair. Now I'm filling in the rickrack, and I'm going to fill in the beads next. But I wanted a couple of different hot pinks going on. I wanted a very light translucent hot pink, which is what I use on the beads, and that allows me to build up to darker colors. That's how I do translucent objects, is I start with a very light version of the color and then build darker. And then for the rickrack, I start with a medium pink. Now for her leggings, I thought I would rather, so normally when I do white, I usually do like a B000, but I thought going with light periwinkle and blending out would give me a more satisfying sort of white tone, especially considering she's wearing a warm blue and hot pink. It definitely looks like the sort of outfit people dress their toddlers in. And then I gave her a little Peter Pan style collar, and I'm coloring that in hot pink as well. And she gets little hot pink shoes. So normally with Kara, for the comic, I dress her in natural colors, earth tones, colors that you can derive from like either mineral-based or plant-based dyes and pigments, because I want to set up this sort of dichotomy between Kara, who's got a very natural palette, and Naomi, who wears a lot of synthetic colors, a lot of saturated colors, a lot of bright and fun colors. because Kara is Lilliputian, they have limited access to that sort of stuff unless they borrow or steal from people's houses and wear a lot of doll clothes. And Kara's mom is a seamstress, so her mother makes most of her clothing. In fact, she's quite well known in her area for how stylish her designs are without being completely human. And Naomi is a human girl, and she wears what is popular. She wears what people have in stores. And she's pretty trendy, so she likes bright colors. She likes fun colors. She's not afraid of color. Now, for a Lilliputian, bright colors like what Naomi wears would be very dangerous because it would mean predators could spot them more easily. So they try to blend into their surroundings since Lilliputians don't have poisons to deter. Well, they don't have poisons in their bloodstream. They don't exude poisons or toxins in their bloodstream. They could use poisoned arrows or poisoned knife blades, but they themselves don't have poison. So camouflage is important. And for the mouse, I started out with a tan to paint sort of the white underbelly, and I did the same sort of pinks, so like shell pink and the flesh tone pink that Copic makes to do the little hands and little tail. And then I used like eggshell and maybe oriental to do the tannish fur on the stomach as well as on the inside of the ear. And now I'm using warmer, richer tans to do the fur on the main body. And I gotta say, and you guys will see it in a bit, I think the mouse turned out so cute. So I color in the majority of the mouse's eyes using a very dark blue, and then I add a black, like a low light, just like towards the bottom, a little circle towards the bottom of the eye. I know you guys can't really see that. All right, so that is it for the Copics. For this, I wanted to use gel pens to do the line art because that often turns out really cute. The problem is I am using Muji knockoffs that I got from Wish, and these things are so garbagey, and they're very prone to clogging on the pink lead that I used. And I apologize for my head entering the shot. So for the skin, I like to line it with a couple of different pinks and then purple for the shadow. So I'm starting out with the pinks. And I don't line the whole thing, I line it in places. Kind of wish my phone would let me know when my head enters the shot, because I know nobody wants to see that. So you guys don't need to comment and let me know, I'm aware. So where I feel like the biggest problem came about when inking this is when I was doing her eyelashes with the black, it clogged really badly. It wasn't making a mark over the pink, so I ended up switching over to a 0.1 micron, but it really kind of changed the shape of her eyes, and it didn't really make it look so much like Kara anymore, which is a little bit disappointing. Really need to find my Muji gel pens since those write so much better than these. And I think the hot pink and the medium pink that I use to line her skin, I think those, when they're working properly and I can get very nice fine lines instead of kind of chicken scratchy lines, I think those work really well for lining skin tones, and I think it's really cute. So you guys can kind of see what I mean about it not really wanting to mark on her eye. So I went over it with a micron, and I apologize that my hand is obscuring the shot. My eyesight is, as those of you who watch Power Hour know, my eyesight is abysmal, and I usually like to get on top of what I'm painting or what I'm drawing, and you just can't do that when you're recording it. Time to get some better glasses, Becca. And I'm using black to line her hair. I would like to use oranges or even browns, but neither Muji nor the knockoff make those in gel pens. Now, I do have a collection of High-Tech C gel pens, which I really should be using those instead of these. I don't know why I am not using those. So next time, next video, I will collect all my high-tech C's and we'll use those instead. Or maybe we'll use fountain pens, but on this kind of paper, which is just inexpensive sketchbook paper, it tends to be a little bit too absorbent, and even though I have some gorgeous colors in fountain pen inks that would look so cute for lining this stuff, it would sink right in and bleed all over the place, so it'd cause a mess. Oh, headshot, I am so sorry. And you guys can see I'm not lining the entire thing. Alright, so I've just about finished lining Kara. I'm going to move on now to lining the mouse. And I want to keep that really, really simple. So I don't have any of the browns like I previously discussed. So I'm going to line it with pink, which you can see on the paws, and black on the fur and black on the nose. And I'm really pleased with how that mouse turned out. He turned out so cute. And I'm just doing kind of little fur-like marks. I'm not doing, I'm not lining the entire animal since the color kind of can carry that through. And now I am using a Signo white gel pen to add highlights to her eyes and a little bit to her hair. I tried to leave highlights while I was markering because those always kind of look the best, but it's nice to add just little pops of white here and there. It kind of makes the image scintillate, and it definitely bumps up the contrast in your images. And then I'm using that Kuretake white brush pen that I reviewed a little while back. And if you're not looking for opaque whites, if you just want to add like a layer of white onto something to lighten it up, this thing's actually not bad, and it's great for doing whiskers. I think the selling point was like adding white wisps of hair in your manga illustrations, that sort of thing. So I ended up adding too much white to the ears. It kind of blobbed out on me, and you'll see in a minute, I go grab a cup of water and I try to blend it out. And it doesn't want to budge. So I would have been better served using white gouache. Now I'm just kind of adding some finishing touches here and there with my gel pens. All right, that is it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Let me know below if you have any questions, and make sure you check out 7